Hello, welcome to Web of Stories. My name is Melinda, and today I'm doing something I don't usually do, which is film a video and post it the same day. So today is Thursday, September 26th. The reason I'm doing this is I had previously filmed my October TBR and Pile of Possibilities video. I went to edit it, and the editing is all, the video's not, there's something wrong with the video. So I first thought, well, I'll just do it this weekend and then post it on Monday. And I said, no, I'm going to wake up, put makeup on, and film it again. This also gives me a chance to actually seem like I am somewhat organized in this video instead of sort of the chaos that was the original video. I'm gonna take a little sip of my coffee and we'll get started. So if you follow my channel, you know, September was really a hard month for me in that I felt like I had bitten off too much, and I felt just a lot of reading pressure. Part of that is because for Shorty September, I ended up reading two 600-page books, or am reading 206-page books. I haven't finished them yet. One was a buddy read that was like supposed to be an all month long buddy read, and it is. It's taken me all month, but I thought like if you spread it out that much, it's really not gonna be that much of an impact, and I was wrong. And the other is a book that I have a ebook from the library, so I didn't know how many pages it was until I'm reading, and I'm like, I'm not getting very far in this book. And then I looked it up and it's 600 plus pages. So yeah. And I have to finish that soon because it's gonna go poof in another day or so. Anyway, so my hope was to make October a little less like that, and I think I failed, as you will see, because I have quite a lot of books on here. And as always, I have a TBR, which are books that I am definitely going to read, or really kind of really want to read. And then a Pile of Possibilities, which are just other books that I might try and get to, or I want to get to during the month of October. So let me start with my TBR. I have two book club books that I have to read. One is, you've seen this one in my September TBR, and I haven't started it yet, so now it's October. And that's Malas by Marcela Fuentes. I ended up having to buy a copy because I wasn't sure my hold was going to come in time. My book club for this isn't until the second Saturday in October, so I do have time to read this. And as soon as I kind of get past my September reading, I will be picking this one up. But this is for my marginalized authors book. It's also a Good Morning America book. I did not know that, and I don't like that. Just don't. Anyway, I'm very excited to read this one. Isn't this just a gorgeous cover besides this? You know what I think? This is my little thing. If they're so intent on doing this stuff like this, don't put it on the front cover. Put it on the back or the spine, and so people don't get mad. Just saying. Anyway, that's one of my book club books. The other is, I'll be getting it out of the library, and it is from my library book club, and that's the 30 Names of Night. So this is actually our November choice, but our November book club meets on the 2nd, I believe, of November. So obviously I'm going to have to read this in October. And it is going to be late in the month. Just, that's the way it is. I'm going to try and read it so I'm kind of fresh for the book club meeting. I have heard really good things about this book. It is about I think Syrian trans teenager and about them. So I am looking forward to reading this one. So those are my two book club books. And then sort of for little personal projects, read-alongs and stuff, I have my next Agatha Christie book, which I'm very excited for, Five Little Pigs. This is my October book. I have heard this is her best. So I am very much looking forward to reading this one. I don't know what it's about. I don't care. I know it's a Poirot, so yeah. But I have been waiting and waiting to read this book. So that would be probably early in the month. And then, of course, I have my Shakespeare play for the Bard Room, and this month we're doing The Tempest. I have not read this, but this is my husband's favorite play, so I'm looking forward to reading it. It's not a super long play. If you want to read along with us, you can join my Discord. Information is down below, and on that we have a thread called the Bard Room, which is where we do our discussions. So anyone's welcome to join us whenever, and you can pop in, pop out as needed. So yeah, The Tempest. And then I have 3 buddy reads coming. So the first one I'll be doing is with Kim at Kim's Book Life, and that is Hill Women, Finding Family and a Way Forward in the Appalachian Mountains by Cassie Chambers. So you've seen this book over and over and over again on TBR Pile of Possibility videos, like an embarrassingly large number of times. But I'm definitely going to read it in October because I'm doing a buddy read. And thank you to Kim for getting that going. So this will be the last time you see it in a TBR video. But as you know, I've been I think it's important to kind of read some Appalachian writing, both fiction and nonfiction. I do have a lot of other Appalachian books I can read as well, because there is someone in the American political discourse at the moment who claims to be Appalachian. He is not, and has said some very kind of inaccurate and derogatory things towards that population. And I think and he wrote his book as if he were one of them, and he is not. And I think it's really important to hear from the people themselves. So this is one of those books. The next one is one of those books that I pre-ordered because I was going to read the minute it came out, and then I didn't. And then so Maria-Andrea at Books and Bocadillos and I will be buddy reading The Weaver and the Witch Queen by Genevieve Gornichec. So Gornichec's first book, The Witch's Heart, is an amazing book that I loved, and I was so excited to read this. And then it sat on my TBR bookshelf. So again, thank you for lighting a little fire under my tushy to read this book. But this one will be happening in October as well. And then this one is, I'm opening this up to whoever wants to read this with me. And it is The Guncle by Stephen Rowley. I know my friend Karen wants to. I know that Angela at Andy Hart's Book wants to. This is going to be at the end of the month, so this is actually going to start on the 27th of October. I'd like to do it earlier, but with the other things going on, this is really the only time I can do it. So if you are interested in buddy reading this, you have two choices. One is there will be a Voxer group, and we can chat on that. Let me know, and I will. My Voxer information is down below, and I can start up that Voxer group. Or and I will do a Storygraph read along for this. And just if you want to do that, just drop me a line with your Storygraph. I think we have to be friends on Storygraph. So give me your username. We have to be friends, and then I can invite you to the read along for it. And it will start on October 27th. I know it's more of a summary book, but hey, we do what we can do. Okay, and then, so those are my buddy reads. And of course, October is Victober. And I was only going to do one Victober book, but I'm definitely going to do two. The first one I'm going to do is a reread of The Professor by Charlotte Brontë. In the past year, I have reread both Villette and Shirley. And this is the final non-Jane Eyre book of hers that I need to reread to kind of keep fresh in my mind. It's also short, so I'm all for that because Villette and Shirley are not. I read this a long time ago. I read this remember I keep talking about my summer term in England? We studied the Brontes. That's when I read this. This was a book that she wrote. It was actually the first book that Charlotte Brontë wrote, but it wasn't published until after her death. So we'll see. We'll see how this one turns out. I'm doing this because I want to keep those I call them secondary Brontë novels, I guess, because they're all by Charlotte, kind of fresh in my mind for my Brontë event that I'm going to be doing this March. Stay tuned for that. So yeah. And the second one that I'm going to do is one of the prompts for Victober. I'm not doing all the prompts. I'm only doing, actually this prompt, is to read a book in honor of either Jennifer Brooks and or Alice from Alice and the Giant Bookshelf, two booktubers that we lost in the past year. I actually didn't know Jennifer Brooks, and I know that her loss has felt deeply, but I did know Alice. So I am going to read, and hers was to read something by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. And here's a confession. Never read Sherlock Holmes. So I will be reading A Study in Scarlet because the beginning is a perfectly good place to start. So I will read the first Sherlock Holmes novel, A Study in Scarlet, for my second Victober read. Okay, so now that's my TBR. Now we're getting into the pile of possibilities. These are books that I would very much like to get to in the month of October, but we'll see. And they are all spooky books because it's October, it's spooky season. So the first one, and these are in order of size so that the pile stacked well. So this is not don't read anything into the order in this one. The first one is this one, The Witches of Vardø. So this is about a witch trial, a persecution incident in Norway in the 17th century. If you have read The Mercies by Kieran Millwood Garwave, that's written about the same incident. This one seems more spooky, horror, witchy thing, and I'm all about that. This is this translated? I think this may be translated. I am not sure. I don't know. No, it doesn't say it's translated, so I guess it's not. But The Witches of Vardø. And this obviously historical fiction, which is my jam. And then I have, this one was from my TBR game last month, I think. And I was kind of holding this because it's perfect for October. And this is Empire of Wild by Cheri Dimaline. Her husband's a werewolf. There you go. I have read at least one short story by Cheri Dimaline. But I've read at least one short story, and I've read one novel. I've read Venko, which is an edgier practical magic. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one. I've heard really good things about it. And then I have, sticking with Canadian Indigenous authors, I have Bad Cree by Jessica Johns. This is a copy that Bookish Best Friend gave me. I gave her some books. She gave me this book. So we did a little trade. This is a Canadian paperback. So yeah, she really enjoyed this one. We usually mesh pretty well in our preferences, so I am excited to give this one a try. And I've heard good things about it. I think Jessica Jones has a new book out. It's either coming out this month or it just came out. I'm not sure. But I want to read this one before I read that, because this one is on my shelf. And then this one was actually on my TBR for last year, and I just ran out of October and I didn't get a chance to it. So I put it back on the shelf for this October. And this is Hex. So this is a witch story. What's really interesting about this book is the author is Dutch. He is from the Netherlands. This is a book in translation, but it's set in New York State. And I always really enjoy reading books set in America and about Americans written by non-Americans, just to kind of get an idea of how Americans are seen in the world. Americans do this all the time to other people, so it's only turnabout is fair play. They get to do it to us. But I do like witch stories. This is my second witch book on my TBR. So this one probably is a pretty higher priority just because it's the second year now that I've had it on my October TBR. And then I have another one from an author I've read short stories from, but not novels. And this is The Fervor by Alma Katsu. So she wrote one of my favorite horror story short novels called The Werewolf, which I talked about, I believe, in this month's TBR Revisit. It's a Kindle single, so you have to go through Amazon, sorry, but it was a very powerful one. This is set during World War II in the Japanese internment camps. I don't know much more about it than that. It's something horror-y. So there you go. But I have been wanting to read Alma Katsu for quite some time. And honestly, Japanese internment camps are probably a better place to start than cannibalism and the Donner Party. So we're going to go with this one. And then in my original video, I did my TBR game where I roll the dice and I go and I pull something off my shelf depending on what the dice roll was. So you're not going to see the excitement of that, but I do have the book that I came up with that I got for that one. And this is not necessarily going to be read this month. It's just going on my TBR shelf. And that is The Last Word by Elly Griffiths. And I am actually really interested in reading this. This is the third book in her Harbinger Carr series, which is an interesting series. The first two books are, well, the first one is The Postscript Murders. The Postscript Murders, and I can't remember the other one's name. Doesn't matter. But they're set in the Brighton, England area. And Harbinger Carr is a detective. She is Sikh and she's a lesbian, which isn't really that big of a deal. It just is sort of like, it others her to her own family. So she's othered from society because she's from a minority group. And then she's othered from her family because she's LGBTQ. But in the first two books, this is the fourth. Did I say this is the third? This is the fourth. In the first two books, she's kind of almost a secondary character. In the first one, it's like the people involved in the crime are really the main characters, and Harbinger Carr is just sort of the detective who's working it. And in the second book, there's sort of a ragtag team of amateur sleuths who are very colorful and a lot of fun. And then Harbinger Carr is kind of associated to them, but it's really this other group. And then the third book, which is Bleeding Heart Yard. If it were not part of this series, I would have loved. But Elly Griffiths changes her formula. She takes it out of Brighton. Harbinger Carr has moved to London. Harbinger Carr is now the main character, which is fine, except for that's not what the series was. And it just didn't fit with the other books. And it just felt very strange. Again, there was nothing wrong with the book. The book was a good, entertaining mystery. It just didn't fit with this series. And so this book, the fourth book, The Last Word, she's corrected. She's taken Harbinger back to Brighton. Your sort of main characters are a couple of the amateur sleuths from the second book. So I'm really happy to see that, because I thought that was a formula that worked really well for her. But this was my draw from my game that you don't get to see me roll dice. I'm sorry, because it's hard to recreate that. Anyway, there you go. So yeah, that's my TBR and my pile of possibilities. I'm not going to do a whole video about this, but I'll do a quick mention. I have shown my immediate, I'm going to move this before it topples over on me. I've done shown you my immediate TBR bookshelf that I had going. That overfloweth. I had to do a purge from it. So the bulk of books I'm taking back up to that were on that. I'm taking back up to my regular TBR shelves. And I think I'm just going to have to do that when it gets full. Purge. You decide if there's something on there you really want to get to. And there are some that stayed, like my Agatha Christie's that I set aside for this year are still there. There's a couple books I really wanted to get to this year that I kept there. But for the most part, all the books on there are going back and we're starting over. So yeah, I probably should have done a video, like a unshelf video, but I didn't think about that and it already happened. And again, it's not very fun to recreate these things. So just take my word for it. And the next time that happens, I will do a video. Okay. Anyway, thank you very much. Like, subscribe, join my Discord. If you are interested in joining the buddy read starting October 27th for the Guncle, again, let me know in the comments down below, and let me know if you want to do the Voxer group. Let me know your Voxer name, or you can just, my Voxer information is down below. You can just send me a message on Voxer and I'll start up a group. Or if you want to do it on Storygraph, make sure that I have your Storygraph username so we can become friends, so that I can invite you to that read along. That makes sense. Anyway, I am finished now. I need to go edit this so I can get this video up today. Thank you.